And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, Tom Vasel here, and today we're taking a look at a game called Dungeon Drop. So this is a game that does kind of what I like to do anyway, and that's drop games or drop pieces on the table. Here you're dropping cubes on a table, and then you're looking at those cubes and trying to figure out the best one that will give you the most points. The best room in the dungeon, which is made of triangles, and triangles are made of 3 points. What am I talking about? I guess I should show you. At the beginning of the game, each player is going to get their race and their class. You're going to draw randomly from these two piles. So I might be a Hawkman Adept, or I might be a half-orc warrior. That sounds pretty good. Or maybe I'll be a Boblin Bard. It shows you how many hit points you have. This number at the top is used for an original initiative to see who's going to go first. You have 2 special abilities. You'll be able to use once of those per round. And realize here that I might be showing you some of the game with somewhat upgraded components. These are the original. The upgraded ones have little faces on the goblins and things like that. You're going to put all the big cubes here in the dungeon, and all the small cubes and the dragon you're going to take and you're going to drop on the table from like 6 inches to 12 inches up, kind of setting up the table, and that kind of really scattered those. So let's move them a little bit so you can see how the game works. So on a player's turn, going from initiative order marker, the first thing you'll do is you'll reach in here and randomly grab 3 cubes and drop them on the board. Then you have the ability to use one of your 2 things here. Let's say I'm the Dragonkin Archer. I'm going to use the Archer. It says flick a non-pillar cube. That's the gray cubes. If it hits another cube of the same color, collect them both. Ooh, I'm going to try to get this blue one here. Well, I did not. And now it says because I missed, I can't collect a room of that type. Now, what are players trying to collect here? Well, first of all, at the beginning of the game, each person gets a treasure card, which is going to tell you how these clear cubes are going to score you. So if I have this one here, the Queen's Quest, then the clear white cubes are 3, clear reds are 2, and blues are 2 also. Oh, no, blues give me, points based on how many of them I have. So I'm going to form a room, except this turn I can't take a blue because of my stupidity I just did. But these here are pillars, these gray ones. So you're trying to form a room with 3 of those. Like, for example, I could form a room with these 3 here, but I would only get that 1 gold that touches the line there. I could form a room with these 3 grays here, but I would get hit by these 2 goblins. Each time you take a monster, you're going to take a hit point, and you're never allowed to take something that does your last hit. So let me see here. This would be a great room to have taken, but I can't take anything with blue in it. You also can't contain another gray cube, so I can't be like here to here to here. That's not possible. This isn't looking too hot for me at this point in time. I don't think I have a really good option, so I'll just take this all the way up here in the top. You can't even see that one. I'll take this one here and take this gold cube. And then it's the next person's turn, so maybe they'll drop 3 on here, which drops a few treasure chests on the board, and they happen to be a dwarf beastmaster. They can count a gold as a pillar. Well, that's interesting. Or flick a small monster. If it hits a treasure, collect that treasure. Ooh, I think we'll do the small monster hitting a treasure. I'll take that treasure. Now, they here are going to form something. They don't have to worry about the blue. By the way, you put your character marker in the room that you've taken to show that you've taken it. But now I have a pretty good room here, I believe, because I can take this one, and this one, which will give me that and that. I get both of these, which can score me points at the end of the game. Each player is going to do this 3 times. There's 3 rounds in the game. In between rounds, you're going to use the weight of the treasures that you've collected and use those to determine initiative order. Whoever has the most treasure basically goes last each round. These are going to be worth points at the end of the game randomly, but only if you've also collected a key. You have different things in here, so you can see goblins take away health. Trolls, when trolls show up, the bigger cubes here, their they take away 2 of your health, but they'll score you 2. The dragon takes away 8 health and scores you 8. There's no way to get a dragon unless you use a magic shield. That's these big blue cubes. If you collect one of those, you can also remove that in the future to ignore health from one monster. So that's one way to get the dragon. Gold is just worth a point. Keys are used to open chests, and gems are worth points based on your scorecard. That's it. And there's also ways to play where basically where you are on the board can affect it. You can play a cooperative game, but essentially you're going to make a room each turn using 3 of the gray cubes and get everything in between. So here, here, and here, I would get all this stuff here. That's how you play. I'm kind of meh on the artwork. It's okay. This is the kind of artwork I think that looks better when it's smaller than when it's larger. And you know, they have your typical stuff, but it's all done in a very silly way. The cubes are fine, although when you play, you're gonna have to make a rule that you just reach in and grab a certain number of cubes without feeling around, because the difference in feeling between these and these is considerable. I like that these have the pips on them. Here they're actually dice, not cubes. What is the difference between a die and a cube? But at the end of the day, it's all nice. This is one of those times where I would insist on playing the upgraded version, because these look a whole lot nicer than generic color ones in here. But at the same time, everything fits inside this little box here. It's a really small game, and it plays and feels like one. So the components for it are fine. I gotta be honest, this was not what I was expecting this game to be. I don't know what it was. I knew you dropped cubes and stuff, but the dropping is kind of just a thing. You drop them at the beginning, and I guess you can try to drop them so they fall to where you want. But anyone who's dropped anything, and believe me, I'm an expert on dropping game pieces on the table, the foremost expert in the world, you cannot predict where they'll go. They can possibly fall off the table and into a corner, and you'll never notice till later on you're missing the piece from the game, I've been told. But this game, the dropping is kind of the setup. The game itself is trying to figure out your special ability and then pick a room that best helps you and or stops someone else from getting points. That's the whole thing. If you think about it, in this game, you're not doing much. This is really a filler game, a game where you're going, And because of that, I would warn a few people away from this game. There's a decent amount of triangles that could be made. Now, it's a finite number. It's not an immense amount of numbers. And in fact, it's almost the kind of game where I wish when you played it, it almost was like an app where they'd be like highlight all the triangles and you'd be like, I want that one. As it is, there are some people who sit there and go, no. And I'm over here sitting here saying, it's supposed to be a fast, fun game. Just pick a triangle already. Just pick it. Don't worry about it. Just pick it. And that's really where it's going to lie. If you're just playing this game for fun, you're obviously trying to score the best. But if you play someone who it can really slow this down. The game itself here says 20 minutes. That's the way it should be. You could also play the cooperative method, which then again helps everybody. It's a little bit themeless in the sense of, you know, these bad guys you're fighting take away your hit points. But what that means is you have a limit of how many you can take before you just can't take those rooms anymore. So I might, as the game goes by, sit there and say, okay, I'll take a troll here, it's 2 points, it just takes up 2 of my hit points. Or try to get those blue cubes, the magic cubes that will let me take 1 and just take the 2 straight points. It's a little odd thematically, but the little pictures help and the special abilities, and there's a little bit of flicking in the game, and I always like to take someone who allows me to flick because that just adds a little bit of extra things I can do. It works well for kids. I will say that, like I said, the game is both small and small. It's a small box and a small game. You're gonna need the biggest problem with the game is that you're gonna need, I have a table here that has edges around it. That helps considerably. If you have a small table with a hard top, these are going to fall over the floor. And when I played this with my kids, we found that it worked best just simply playing on the floor, because that way they scattered a little bit. And 6 inches would be the max I would drop them from, because otherwise, as you saw in that first drop I did, they simply scatter too much. Despite all that, I still have fun with it. I still like it. I like the variations of special abilities, the different combos of things you can get. It's a nice, light little game. And honestly, my best recommendation is, when you saw what I just showed you, did that seem interesting? Then try it out. If it doesn't seem interesting, playing this is not going to change your mind. So if you like dropping pieces on the table or floor, and you also kind of like the little bit of puzzle as you try to find the best triangle that will help you score the most points, this is the game for you, Dungeon Drop. Dice Tower Judgment approved.